We are modifying a cookbook science lesson plan. My name is Eusebia Paulin.
I'm Daniela Kidwell.
I'm Francisca Escobedo.
And I'm Ashley Esparza.
The TEKs for our modifying lesson plan that we used are two in particular. 4.7a, which it examines properties of soils, including color and texture, capacity to retain water, and ability to support the growth of plants. 4.2b says collect and record data by observing and measuring using the metric system and using descriptive words and numerals such as labeled drawings, writings, and concept maps. The lesson plan for this grade is 4th grade. Okay, and the topic is, does this hold water? So I am doing engage, one of the first 5 of the 5 E's, and during engage, the teacher will focus on activating students' prior knowledge by engaging them into an activity. The activity will be, students will be placed into 3 different groups. There will be 3 different stations that include one of the 3 different types: sand, silt, or clay. They'll have a few minutes in each of the stations where they will be required to examine the different types of soil and write their differences or similarities between them. Some of the questions the teacher will ask will be, what can you tell about the soil? Is it soft? Is it rough? And the third question is, if we were to add water, which of these types of soil do you think will retain water?
Our part is exploration. A student will be involved in hands-on activity in which they will have the opportunity to touch, feel, and explore the different types of soils after adding water. A student will go to the station, but this time they will add the water and carefully examine the soil. The teacher will have the opportunity to touch, to feel the different type of soils. The teacher will mention that as science, they must record their finds. To do this, they will create a graph to record the amount of water that was retained. They will measure the water that was retained with a graduate strip and collect the data. A student will be required to create an illustration of the vocabulary that was taught before the activity.
So I had the explain part of the 5E lesson plan. And so after the kids have done the activity, the teacher will have them come back and take a seat, and with their shoulder partner using Kagan strategies, she will let them talk about what they observed and what they learned from the activity. Afterwards, after she gives them a couple of minutes to talk with their partner, they're going to come back as a class, and she's going to ask each of them, what did you observe? What did we learn? What are some things that you saw when you were putting the water into the soil? And they can just have a conversation about it, or she can also create an anchor chart and add those ideas to the anchor chart so the students can later reference the anchor chart and know what they were able to observe and what they were able to learn. Because not everybody observed the same thing, so they can bounce ideas from each group. Afterwards, in order to check for understanding, the teacher's going to ask them, which soil do you think retained the most water, and why do you think it retained the most water? What characteristics are the ones that made it retain so much water? And so the students will write their answer on a whiteboard and their explanation, and then she'll ask all of them to flip it over at the same time, and she can kind of just look over the whiteboards and have like immediate feedback about it. And then for the students that maybe don't have a correct answer, she can ask them for an explanation on why they think that's the correct soil, because they could have valid reasoning, and then she can say, yes, that's true, but, and then those misconceptions, talk to them about why that's not true, or why it could be true, but that's not necessarily true for this activity. And then she can clarify by using examples from different students.
Okay, so I had elaborate, and for elaboration, there is a couple of parts that go to it. So first, the students will use their newly acquired information about this lesson into real life situations. So for example, the teacher could ask them, they could apply this to their real life whenever they're building their garden, so that they know which soil would do best for a specific type of plant or a specific type of environment that the soil is going to be placed in. They can also really apply it into abstract thinking by the teacher asking them when they see another material absorbing water, such as in making dough for pasta or for pizza or for anything like that. And so then after evaluating exit tickets, the teacher will use them as a tool to guide his or her reteaching. And then the reteaching comes in for modifications. The teacher will provide more wait time and pair the ELLs with their bilingual partners and the other way around. And then also she will have different vocabulary words for tier 1, 2, and 3 differentiation. And she will lead a small group if needed, if a small group is needed for really special need kids or a group that is just really not understanding the concept. She can take a small group with her and kind of guide them into a more straight direction. And then for extensions, students will create an animal with a habitat that would thrive in each of the different kinds of soils. And it doesn't have to be an animal, it can be a plant, it can be an insect, or anything like that that would just thrive in any sort of different environment. Like we said with the garden, they could even make a garden in a very tropical state, or they can put a garden where there is a desert. So just knowing that different types of soils and plants adapt to different environments and which one is better used in which case.
Go.
My name is Larissa and I'm presenting the last E of the 5 E's, and it's the evaluation portion. In the evaluation portion for this cookbook activity, we redid the students at the end to, instead of doing the worksheet, we are creating a summary of their final conclusions and their experiments. They will present their findings to the class as well as a summary, including their bar graphs. As they're doing this, the teacher will create a bar graph of her own on an easel pad, and the students will each see how they're doing and which soil got the most conclusions. So the teacher at the end will also restate the importance of recording the observations, the importance of the graphs, and why the students got the same results or why did they not get the same results.
Okay, lastly, we have the lesson comparisons between the original lesson and our lesson. So the original lesson had 5 teaks and 5 worksheets. We only used 2 teaks and we didn't use any of the worksheets. We created our own activity with the 3 stations. We used the same learning goals because we thought that the activity we were doing, the learning goals were addressed in that activity. And then we connected to learning as it was modified and reduced part of the evaluation presentation in order to meet all of the needs of everything. And that's our modified science cookbook lesson.
Thank you so